Race has been a widely discussed topic this past decade. America and the world seems to be going through changes in attitudes towards race and ethnicity, and people from all backgrounds are placing a spotlight on the issues of racial inequality still lingering from decades and centuries ago.
Adding further complexity to this period, minority children must resolve their racial, ethnic identity and cultural orientation while learning to navigate both overt and subtle structural inequality and racial ethnic discrimination.
Adolescence is a pivotal stage in which to examine the impact of racial discrimination on psychological functioning.
To test our hypothesis, we went out and interviewed multiple students who attend Emmanuel College to learn about their personal high school age experiences and see how race played a role in them.
What race do you identify yourself as?
Japanese American.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Japan, Tokyo,
City or suburbs?
in the city.
White American,
Where did you grow up?
Attleboro, Massachusetts.
Was it in the city or suburbs?
Suburbs.
So personally, I identify as the African American / Black race. That's mostly like on like applications and stuff like that. I grew up in Johnston, Rhode Island. My parents are both from Africa though, so I was like a first generation.
I grew up in Worcester, Massachusetts. I'm Vietnamese and Portuguese, so my dad's a combination of both, and my mom is just strictly Vietnamese.
In Connecticut, West Hartford.
What race would you say you identify as?
Black.
All right.
African American, whatever, light skin.
I grew up in Braintree, Massachusetts. I identify as white.
So I grew up in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Okay, that's an understatement. So like, I just recently moved to Pawtucket, but the reason why I say that was because I was always around there because that's where all my other family members live. I grew up in Central Falls, Rhode Island, which is a very small city right next to Pawtucket. I identify as you could say in two different ways. You could either say Creole, like Cape Verdean. Basically, it's an island off the coast of Africa. You could say African or / Haitian ancestry. So I identify as Black sometimes. Like your SAT or some type of assessment, when they ask your ethnicity, like you'll never see Creole or Cape Verdean on there. You'll never see it. So you could either put down Black or you could put other.
And so you say that's a different race altogether?
Yeah.
Do you feel as though your race has shaped your adolescence?
I definitely think that it had an impact on it. The town that I grew up in was the second most Italian community in the whole country. So I was around white Italian Catholics all the time, and just being like visibly very different from them always like kind of like set me apart. Like I had a rough time making friends in elementary school and definitely middle school as well. But that comes with like growing up, I guess, and everyone like has their own like personality and so it's just another step back. It's really weird because I moved like across town for elementary. I moved like from 3rd grade to 4th grade. I moved to a different school, so I kind of like was around different people, and I think that in my town, like a lot of the friends that you had before were like the friends that you kind of carried like with you through like middle school. So around that time, like freshman year in high school and stuff, like I had like maybe like 1 or 2 really like close friends, but then like it would always be like someone else kind of comes in the picture and then they go with them and stuff. Yeah, so like that whole typical behavior, like that was kind of a trend. Like every year, like it'd be like, oh okay, like here's another person who like you feel really connected with and stuff, but then they're gonna find someone else and like they think they're cooler than you, so they're gonna hang out with them and kind of leave you. So that was kind of crappy. But I think like towards the end of high school-ish, I found like 2 really good friends that are still like my like home friends. They're like the only people I talk to from high school. But yeah, I think like the whole friend thing, it was like more of like a I'm gonna be your friend for a really good time and then like come and go type. Yeah, just like dissolved. Yeah. I was like involved with student council at my high school, and a lot of the time we had to go to like community like places or like call outwards, and like especially like when I was vice president of like the school student council, like I was calling businesses on the daily, calling a newspaper and stuff, and just like having to interact with a lot of other people who were white Italian Catholics. And like I only emphasize that because there's so many things that separate me from like them, and like with the patriarchy it was like mostly men all the time I was dealing with. So like I'm a female, they're a male. I'm Black, they're white. I'm Muslim, they're Catholic, and like it just, I could tell they didn't like respect me or put me to the same pedestal as if I was like a white person in the same position. So just like trying to like interact with them, trying to have them take me as seriously as I took like my job seriously, was kind of like a struggle at times. Like it was hard to like do the full job of like student council vice president, and people wouldn't think like, oh, like who's the vice president? They wouldn't think that it would be me. So I guess like in that way, like it kind of prevented me from certain things. But I mean, like I guess that comes with like this whole like labeling theory of like when people think that you're a certain way, like you try harder to like defend that you're not that way. So especially me, I'm stubborn. So I guess like that's how I like combat it.
Yeah.
That your race shaped your adolescence, specifically like in high school?
No, not at all. Like, I don't think my race had anything to do with like my experience in high school and stuff. Because just because Worcester is such like a diverse place that everyone is so open to each other, you know.
I think in a joking manner, for like the conversations you have, only that way. I don't think it was like, oh, because you're so and so, we can't really be that close. I think it was just that way.
It was definitely like a joke in a way. I mean, I know racism is like still a big thing, but like some people, like when you're good friends with someone, I'm not saying it's okay, but like you let it slide, you know, like the Asian joke, oh, you're like a math wizard, bro, help me out. And I'm terrible at math, like I'll admit it to anyone. I'm better at English than I am at math. It's tragedy, but it is what it is. It's like not intended to like
hurt you,
yeah.
It's like they're your friends, so they can like they feel like they can speak
but I
to
feel
you
like
because they know you won't react.
I feel like there's like a fine line. It's hard to explain. It's just like one of those things that like when you get close to someone, it's not okay to do it, but like you let it slide compared to like someone else you don't know who like just acts completely different towards you because of your race.
Well, I kind of expect it. Like if a conversation is about a certain topic, then I know it's gonna come towards me at some point.
Yeah.
Like class discussions, it's happened before. Like they'll be talking about like some kind of African American history, and they'll bring up something about black students, and people will look at you. That's more of what it was.
Because I just grew up around Creole like my whole entire life. Like it was the language we spoke at home. I learned how to speak it before English, so I speak it fluently. But yeah, just everything around me was just Cape Verdean at the time. So it wasn't like I grew up around it. So it was basically like what made me into this. Like I wouldn't have been like this if it wasn't for my Creole like background. So. The racial makeup of my friend group, most of them, most were Colombian, Spanish, and a lot of them were white. But I didn't have, but a large majority was not Creole. A lot of my friends do accept me. A lot of my friends, it's funny because a lot of them do treat me like better. Like they treat me with a funny sense, like a comical sense, because of my skin color. Like they'll say things like Jarrell's faster than all of us, so you already know that. Like, oh, Jarrell, like he'll eat that, you'll eat this, because my skin color. So you deal with it everywhere, but like it's more of like a comical sense that they say. Like nobody's ever serious with me. Like I said, you deal with racism everywhere. So obviously there's gonna be those white people that like don't want to be friends with me because of my skin color. And there's gonna be those people that are white but don't care about the skin color, but just care about what's on the inside. So that pretty much based it off of my friend group, like what kind of friends I made. They just depended on what they had in here. So to be honest, like I wouldn't say I had like this the push to be the special token black friend, but I'd say definitely growing up as Creole. We never had the best. My mom and my dad separated at an early age, which it may be stereotypical, but it's true because a lot of when two 100% Creoles or Cape Verdeans marry, there is a very large percentage of divorces. So that happened with me at a young age. They separated when I was about 4. So it does push you to be like better because like you want to do better. Like I personally never worked a job until last summer. But my first job, I was working for one of the top 20 restaurants in the country. Why you may ask? I got such a good job was because I was working to make money to put in my mom's hand to pay for my tuition here. I work a lot of hours in the atrium to put money in my mom's hand. She asked me not to work so I could focus on my education, but I tell her like I'm an adult. I can do what I want. What I want to do is help you out. Being Creole, like we're obviously not just hand given things because many people don't even know what we are. Like people ask me like, oh, you're Cape Verdean, what is that? And I have to explain the whole thing to them. So it definitely is a push, but it's worth it.
Where, if anywhere, has race affected your access to opportunity?
To be honest, race has never affected my opportunity to get anywhere. To be honest, that may be the case for some people, but it's never been for me. Because even though I'm not white, even though I'm Creole, like I've always kept it professional. Like that's why you always have to keep a professional mentality, especially if you want to go somewhere. So.
Do you feel as though your race has shaped your adolescence?
Kind of, because I'm like half, in Japan we call it hafu. It's like harder to like fit into like anywhere that I'm like, you know, racially from. Like if I come to America, I'm Japanese. If I go to Japan, I'm American. So like,
Think your race affected your friendships?
yeah, probably. Just cause like I grew up in a American school in Japan. Like if I was talking to my Japanese peers, they'd see me as more like outgoing and like kooky, because I'd be like, you know, doing like typical like outward stuff rather than like staying within like the bubble culture.
Bubble culture.
The bubble culture. Like sometimes people would like assume that I'd be like super rude just because I look more American in terms of like being in Japan. Yeah.
What was the racial makeup of your high school?
My high school was like 98% white to like the rest black.
Do you think your race has affected your friendships?
Not too much, because we're basically all white Americans at my school.
The racial makeup of your school, it was pretty diverse too.
It was pretty diverse, yes.
Was it as diverse as Braintree itself, or was it less or more?
Actually, it was a little more diverse because we had a METCO program that brought kids in like not so great areas in to our school. So.
Do you feel as though your race has shaped your adolescence, and if so, how?
I don't know. That's a tough question, actually, because I don't think it was as much my race, but just like where I grew up kind of did, because it was just like, I mean, there were people of all different races in Braintree. Like, we all acted the same because we grew up in the same environment. So like, I wouldn't say that my race really impacted it. I'd say like my location impacted it.
It seemed to us that race had much less of an effect on the students' adolescence than we hypothesized it would. While race was still an influential factor in shaping people's adolescence, a factor that we had not anticipated being as influential as it turned out to be was where the student grew up. The environment that our interviewees lived in through their adolescence seemed to be more influential in shaping their adolescence than their racial backgrounds.
Well, when I first got here, it was kind of like a culture shock for me, because like in Japan, like people don't usually like talk to each other outwardly. I actually grew up in an American school in Japan, so it was like kind of the same, but it was still a little bit like different, so I had to like, you know, adjust to that, but then afterwards, like, it's fine, it's fun.
What was the racial makeup of your high school?
Like I said, I went to an international school, so like it was pretty diverse in terms of like ethnicity, but everyone usually came from like the same background. Like we're all like halves typically, like mixed race, and like it was a good community. Yeah.
Where, if anywhere, has race affected your access to opportunity?
If anything, I think I have more opportunities, just because like in terms of jobs, I can like double the country. Like I could work in Japan because I can speak Japanese, and I can work in the US because I can speak English, and it's been good. But that's just because I'm like fortunate enough to have money. If I didn't, it would probably be more difficult, I think.
What word would you use to describe yourself as an adolescent?
Weird and open, I guess. I would like talk to a bunch of strangers, and everyone thought it was really weird, but I would just go ham because I could speak both languages. So I'd be like, "Hey, who are you?" I had no concept of like social norms at all.
How would you describe yourself? Where'd you fit in?
In high school, to be honest, I fit in every single category. I fit in with the brainiacs. I fit in with the athletes. I fit in with the theater kids, because I did production most of my life. I've been singing all my life. I was in theater. I was in every show at my school. I played a lead in most of them. I played sports. I always played soccer, basketball, and volleyball in high school. I was on all the teams. And then I fit in with the brainiacs, because like I always put my work in there. Like I had a good work ethic. I could just multitask. I was good. I was good at completing everything. High school was good for me. It really was. I wouldn't say my race affected my high school experience other than the friends I made, because everything else was like a paved road for me. So.
I would say probably like going through the school system that I did. However, like people of all races did go through that school system. It would just be like people of other areas didn't have that. So like, I guess like if you would associate a certain area with a certain race, if it had a negative or a more positive effect either way, that would be the only difference, I'd say. Like you definitely hear about people who just don't get the same opportunities as you, you know, like, there's just people who just don't have the resources that I had growing up. Like, they don't have a stable home, they don't have a nice school system, they don't have all that. So like, I definitely do understand that there are people who did have, it was, like I said before, it was a pretty like diverse group in my high school, and everyone basically got along as far as I know. So I was friends with people of other races, and it never seemed to be an issue. People would just be friends with people that they liked, you know? It wasn't like, like anything to do with race. It was like so many people were just friends with everyone, you know? I definitely do understand that there are people who did have less like opportunities than I did. I don't think I would link that directly with race, because I know people of all different races have grown up like that, you know?
All years?
Yeah.
Well, my first 3 years I went to a diverse school, so I know what both perspectives looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But my junior and senior year, my senior year was more diverse because they brought in more people of color. But my junior year, I felt like I was excluded because they already had their friend groups and all that. So like, I would just be on my own. But that was basically it. And I would hang out with a few people, but like, it was a diverse group of people that I hung out with.
Not only did the places they grew up in seem to be more influential in shaping the high school experiences of these individuals than race, but it seemed that more of the experiences that these individuals had in high school were universal across all backgrounds, more than just exceptions to the rule.
At what age did you get your first cell phone?
Probably when I was like 12, actually, but it wasn't like a cell phone like an iPhone. It was like those little flip phones, and then you have like the emergency pull string on it if you get like abducted type deal, one function. Yeah.
I think about 12 years old. It's like one of those flip up ones. I think it was a Sidekick, that's what it's called. But the first thing I did on it was download a ringtone, bro. Just downloaded a ringtone, slapped it on, and I was probably the coolest kid in class.
Do you remember what ringtone it was?
It was 6 foot, 9 foot or something like that. 6 foot. What is this song?
6 foot, 7 foot?
Yeah, 6 foot, 7 foot.
At what age did you get your first cell phone?
13.
See, everybody comes at me for this one. To be honest, I got my first cell phone when I was 14. So most of the kids got their cell phones when they were like 10, 11. I'm only getting it when I was 14. And then I'm surprised I remember the name. It was a Hawaii Summit from Samsung. It was such a bad phone. Such a bad phone. Everybody around me had the iPhones. I was just like, wow. Thanks, Mom.
I got my first cell phone the summer between 3rd and 4th grade. It was a Nokia flip phone, and I don't even know why. I don't know why my parents got it for me. I think it was because my brother had one, because he's 2 years older than me. So like, whenever he got something, I would typically get it like right after.
At what age did you get your first job?
I actually didn't work for like a really long time because I was like trying to focus on like school, but probably in 9th grade, I think.
9th grade? What kind of job was it?
I actually worked in like the acting, modeling, singing industry when I was like a kid. Like as a kid, not now, but as a kid. And I worked with them to like network and do stuff like that.
Cashier. I was 15.
The reason I wanted to get a job before, like I wanted to make money, but the thing was I was always, like I said, I was always busy, like theater and school and sports. Soccer took up most of my life. Seeing that it was a top 20 restaurant in the country, I obviously wasn't going to be a server because that took a lot of work. You had a lot of things to memorize. You had to memorize the table numbers because it was a very large restaurant. They had an inside piece and an outside piece to it. It's a beautiful place though. But I was a busboy. I cleared tables, I washed them down, got them ready for the next couple of guests to come in. I served food occasionally when we were crazy, so that's pretty much what I did.
That was last year.
I was 16 when I got my first job.
And where'd you guys work?
Worked at a Japanese restaurant, sushi chef.
I worked at a sneaker store.
So, did you guys get these jobs because you wanted jobs, or did you get them because your parents were like, you gotta get jobs, or?
No, I just felt like when I turned 16, I was like, I need money. I'm tired. Like, I don't want to rely on my parents forever, so I decided to suck it up and just get a job. And it was awful. I hated it. I hated every second of it. I hated cutting, like, ingredients. I hated cleaning up. I hated waking up to go to work. I hated getting out of work. I hate showering after work. But it's just one of those things where, like, you just have to suck it up because it's an incentive because you need the money. So you have to work to get it.
Mine's kind of similar, but at the same time, like, there was a point where I was kind of, like, relying on a lot of people. Like, say if we went out somewhere and they would, like, pay for me. It just got to the point where, like, I felt like I was being a burden to them. So I was like, I need to make my own money so that I can do my own things and all that. So, and on top of that, I didn't want my parents to struggle while I'm in college so I can pay for my own stuff. Because I take a lot of weight off their shoulders, so I just got a job. But I've always wanted a job. It was just a matter of when I would get it.
My first job I got at 16 at Braintree Parks and Recreation. I worked at the Braintree Splash Pad, which is like a little water park for little kids. I was not a lifeguard. I was a gate attendant. And I sat there and I watched the gate for 2 years. This job was so boring. I was just sitting there, and it was, the first year I did it, it was 7 days a week. 5 hours a day, 7 days a week. The second year I did it, I told them, I need to do this 6 days a week because I cannot sit here for 7 days a week again. So I did it 5 hours a day, 6 days a week. And it goes from, it opens Memorial Day and closes Labor Day. So there was a time when I started that job before I was out of school, and I went until after we already started class, like having classes again in high school, and it was terrible. It was the St. Patrick's Day breakfast for, like, that was run by the state representative for our, like, area. I was there with my dad because he's a town councilor, so he got invited and everything. And this man who is like the head of the parks department, his name's Nelson Chin. He's a very nice guy. And he asked me if I was looking for a job because most of the Parks and Rec jobs are for kids who are going into college or already in college. But this one is like, they like select who does it because nobody wants to do it. So they have to go out and ask people, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it,
Was it assumed throughout your adolescence that you were going to go to college?
Yes.
Did your parents get a higher education?
Yes, they did.
What is their opinion on higher education?
They feel like if you don't get a higher education, you're probably not going to go as far in life.
Definitely. Did your parents get a higher education?
Yeah, my dad's a doctor.
So their opinions on higher education were that it was beneficial and that like you needed to go and stuff?
Yeah.
Like growing up, my parents like would always just tell me like do whatever like you can, like do your best, and like that's like good enough. Like they keep telling me to even now, like if it's too much, like just don't worry, like do this for yourself, not for us. So I guess in a sense it wasn't like assumed that I would go to college, but my parents like always like tell me and my brother to try and be better than them, and the fact that they like came to this country like at the same like age we are now, and like no family, no resources, got jobs and like paid for their schooling and stuff like that, if I'm gonna try and beat that, like I'm gonna definitely need to go to college as a start. So I guess for me, at least with my own self, I knew it was like there wasn't even a question.
No, my mom, like she was happy as long as I was happy with what I was doing. Before high school even ended, actually, we talked, and I told her that I want to go further and like receive an education because, I want to be better. Like I want to set my future family up for like more opportunities to become successful and stuff. So I told her that I did want to pursue a degree in college and stuff.
Mine, well, when I was growing up, I had a good group of friends, but like a lot of them, they were involved in the wrong things. So like, their eyes were set on graduating high school, and that was it. And a few of them would think about college, but they weren't really serious about it because their academics didn't really show anything. And their main reason was to go play basketball in college, which was mine too, but at the same time, I had the academics to back it up. And the way my family raised me is you're going to college. I mean, like, you're going to make something of yourself. You're not about to sit here and go get some part-time job and live off of that for the rest of your life. Like, that's not going to do anything for you. So you need to go to college, get an education, and get a real job.
Every male in my family dropped out of school sophomore, junior year. Most of the guys in my family didn't finish high school. If they did, they definitely didn't go to college. I have my uncle. He was the one person. He went to college and he did his first semester, but then left because I guess school wasn't his thing. So I'm a first generation. So there's obviously always a push there because you always want to be that first one. Like you want to set the bar for like generations to go. Yeah. So that was kind of my push. My mom's opinion of a higher education. She definitely wants me to go through with it because my mom. She didn't finish college. But she almost got there, but science has killed her, like chemistry and biology and things like that. But she believes in me making a name for myself. And she know, like these days, like a higher education is the only thing that's gonna do it for you. It's the only thing that's gonna bring you up there to a good job.
Parents like drilling in your head like you're going to college, you're getting a higher education.
But let's just say they were definitely not discouraging me going to college. Yeah, they were definitely like, oh, gotta keep your grades up, gotta do this, you gotta get into a good college. You gotta get into college, go to college, get a degree, everything. So that was always in the plan.
Did you have a prom?
I did.
Did you go both years or just one?
I went 3 times.
Yeah. Was it a good experience or?
It was a really good experience. Really good experience.
Is it safe for camera to say? No?
Yeah, we did.
Did you? Was it just junior or was it junior and senior prom?
Junior and senior.
Yes.
And how was that?
It was all right. Well, my senior prom was at the Hard Rock Cafe in Boston. The food was pretty good actually, but prom's not really a big deal for me. Like I'm not a huge it's so special. Like just like a nice quiet prom with me and my girlfriend at the time, and I mean it was fun. We hung out, danced, a little bit. Well, yeah, it was about it.
Did you play like any sports in high school?
Basketball.
Is it just basketball?
I ran track too.
Okay. So did you hang out at school with like people on the basketball team or track team or?
Not the track team, because I don't think. Well, some people, but not everyone. That was my junior year.
Not to brag or anything, I was the MVP of the volleyball team my senior year, and everyone kind of knew I played volleyball. It was like, I don't know, like some people you would ask and you'd be like, oh, like I didn't even know we had a men's volleyball team. I mean, it's some of my closest friends actually went to different schools, so like it wasn't like too much like that for me, but I would hang out with the volleyball team a lot. Like we would go to someone's house and have like a pasta party and stuff. Like, it was, and we would go like get food after games or practices. So like, yeah, we would spend like a decent amount of time together, but it definitely wasn't like constricted to like, oh, we're only gonna hang out with these people. I don't think a lot of the teams at my high school were like that at all.
I was a 3-sport athlete: baseball, football, and basketball. Two of my best friends were also playing the same sports as I was, but when we were not hanging out, like after practice, it's just convenient to like hang out with people that you sweated with for hours. So it's more like that. But like on the weekends, like Saturday and stuff, when we don't have practice, we tend to like get together as larger groups and like hang out with other kids in our class and stuff.
So as a team, when you guys would hang out, is there anywhere in particular you'd like to go and hang out at?
Moe's.
Moe's?
Moe's is the spot. Every Monday. Well, Monday. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's like when burritos and bows are like $6 instead of like $8 or $9.
Nice.
So, which is pretty good. Yeah.
Did you have like what? Do you have any like favorite experiences that you had at Moe's or?
Yeah, I mean, since Moe's is like a popular thing in Worcester, I guess, a lot of people go there. So most of my friends, like, if you go on Mondays, you'll run into people from other high schools and like kids I grew up with who went to elementary school that just branched off and like attended other high schools and stuff. So that's a pretty good thing about Moe's. Brings people together.
Where was your favorite place to eat in high school?
Oh, frijoles.
What kind of food was it?
It's basically like Chipotle, but Japan version.
A diner in my town called Bliss.
What was your favorite aspect about it?
It was very homey.
Rosie's. It was prime location. I live about 2 minutes away from my high school. My house is right about here. High school's right about here. Go up my street, take a right, quick left, up that street. That's where my high school is. Where that little right and left is Rosie's Pizzeria. It is my favorite place to eat of all time. The food is great, and like I've been going there all my life. I know the people that work there that own the place. It's great. I have a great time every time I go in there. I would go with my friends, my family, my coworkers, myself. I went a lot.
My favorite place to eat was a Chinese restaurant down the street from my school. All my friends used to go there after school. Before practice, we go and get food. Like, it was just kind of like a hangout spot for us.
And you ate Chinese food before practice?
Yep.
That sounds like a mistake.
No.
Nice.
My favorite aspect of it was just that like everybody likes that one spot that you can hang out with your friends, you know. Yeah. That was kind of like our spot. Like we just text each other like last period, like, oh, our spot after school. Like it was just that type of thing.
And was it like the soccer teams or was it the like your grades?
Yeah, everybody in the whole school, freshmen and seniors. As soon as you came to St. Ray's, you heard about that place. And on Fridays, that place was boom. Like people would go there to get food and go back to school and wait for the football games to start. So that place got a lot of business from us.
Race is one of the most discussed topics in the American lexicon. It also apparently does not play as big of a role in shaping students' adolescence as we predicted it would, according to the first-hand accounts our interviewees shared with us and the statistics we gathered from our survey. While it seems that where a person grew up plays a bigger role in shaping individuals' adolescence than their racial background, overall, more experiences in adolescence were universal rather than individual. The fact that society's opportunities offered to adolescents appear to be available to the majority of all adolescents, like prom, team sports, jobs, or having that one place to get food with friends, without discrimination of any race or place that send their adolescents to high school, allows for a more universal adolescent experience.